Oh, we had some news come out yesterday. We got to talk about all kinds of changes. Are they good? Are they bad? But most importantly, before anything, let's get the update. Are our awesome 4 Artemis astronauts okay? They're doing well? Yes, they're doing fine. Not only that, but are these the most relatable astronauts we've ever had in any space program? Completely relatable. They even fix their own email and toilet. Come on, these are American heroes. But we also, of course, got to talk. News-wise, got to go to the swamp. Let's talk about Bondi out. Who's coming in? Oh, got a replacement attorney general. But can we suggest a name for a guy that may be looking for a job soon? Because he's not going to be governor anymore as time's up? Anyway, we'll get to that. And also, we're going to wrap it up today with, by the way, happy Easter weekend. I don't know why they call it Good Friday, but it is. You're celebrating Easter. We just got over Passover. Happy to you, however you celebrate. No Easter message from the King Weasel this year. King Weasel being King Charles. I'm just going to tell you, just personal opinion, this is one of the signs I was looking for. You know, we've heard it for years now. The UK is lost, just completely caved to Islam. Well, maybe it's true, because the king has decided not to give an Easter message this year. What a weasel. Anyway, we'll get to all that. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio live stream and the replay on X and YouTube and on Facebook, and then the audio podcast, which is posted usually around 9 a.m., right around there. And by the way, you visual followers today, we have a ticker working today. I've been working on this for days. Little headline scroll thing going across the screen. But regardless, let's get to it. Before any news, we need the most important news of all. How are our Artemis astronauts doing? Fine. Mission's on its way. Technically, everything's good now. They're happy and healthy and everything's good, but they had a little issue yesterday. And this is why I say they're so relatable to all of us. If you have ever, doesn't matter if you're a husband or a wife or a man or a woman or a kid, if you've ever had to fix a toilet and go into the internal parts of fixing a toilet, you know the satisfaction of getting that job done and how important it was. That was one of the issues that broke out on Artemis yesterday on a capsule, apparently, and that's a big one. So NASA TV asked the question, and we found out who the space plumber is who actually fixed this. It might surprise you, but this is the question, and then the little delay because, you know, they're talking to them in space. But here's another takeaway. Listen how good the audio and the connection is on this.
Heard that there was a little bit of an issue with the toilet. Which one of you was the plumber?
So then there's the delay. It happens like 10 seconds or whatever. And then very quickly we find out who the plumber is. Is it one of the dudes? Nope. Astronaut Christina Koch fixed the toilet, and she told a story about how it all went.
I'll take that one. I'm the space plumber. I'm proud to call myself the space plumber. I like to say that it is probably the most important piece of equipment on board.
Yep.
So we were all breathing a sigh of relief when it turned out to be just fine. It was just an issue, I think, of sitting for a long time and needing a little time to warm up, a priming issue. But we did originally think that there could have been potentially something fouling up the motor, and luckily we are all systems go.
Whew. Good for her. How relatable is that? And you know, if you've ever had to fix a toilet, you know how important that piece of mechanical equipment is in your house, and she got it done. Good for her. But not only that, that wasn't the only fix they had to do yesterday, and this is why I say they're the most relatable. If you have ever, and I know you have, because everybody has, battled Microsoft Outlook at home or in the office or anywhere in your personal life, you know exactly how frustrating that is. Now think about the astronauts for a second. These are some of the most technically advanced, intelligent, mentally tough, and smartest people, I would say, on Earth, but they're not on Earth right now. And even they have realized that Microsoft Outlook sucks. There was an issue yesterday, but they were able to fix that too.
Yeah, go for it. And then I also see that I have 2 Microsoft Outlooks, and neither one of those are working. If you want to remote in and check Optimus on those 2 Outlooks, that would be awesome.
All right,
That I can relate to. Even in space, Outlook sucks. So the next time you're frustrated by it, saying, you know, this even happens to the astronauts. They were able to fix it, so good news there. All right. Artemis on its way. Godspeed to him. Let's get to the swamp. Pam Bondi's out, and I'm hearing all the celebration of it. But good, she was useless. She was under a trap. She was... Well, hold on. Yes, didn't do enough, but can you imagine that job and everything you have to fight through? And she did, as an attorney, want to go through the proper channels. Was the Epstein file case thing handled well? No, you don't do a press conference and say, they're sitting on my desk. I have all the information, because it got the base all excited. And they said, good, there's going to be arrests. We're going to take down the deep state and these scumbags, and we're going to do it. That never happened. There's other speculation that Trump wasn't too happy about her allegedly tipping off some of the people who need to go to jail. Eric Swalwell over the Fang thing. More, you could look that up in your own time, apparently, too. But here's the thing. She's not out. She's being moved to a different department because Trump still likes her very, very much. This is where loyalty is so important to this guy and that administration. But who's coming in? We can speculate, but first, I have to play you this clip. I don't usually like to play the legacy media talking heads like the White House reporters, but this is a classic, and see if you can catch the propaganda. I know that CBS has gotten better lately. Barry Weiss has fired a bunch of, of weasels who are just taking orders from the Democrats in that department. You'll never completely get rid of all the grift on mainstream news. You never completely will. Check out this. Listen to how they present the news story about massive story. It was top headlines yesterday. Listen to the spin that CBS puts on this. See if you can catch it.
Bondi is the second cabinet-level official to be eased out of her role by President Trump. He didn't say she was fired, but sources tell CBS News he was not happy with her handling of the Epstein files and with the failed attempts to indict his enemies.
Did you catch it? First of all, the sources, those famous unnamed sources, tell CBS, okay, right, really credible. Maybe true, but not credible. Doesn't matter. And did you catch what else? So now the low wattage, typical mainstream news watcher that watches CBS and has probably 50, 60 years. What's their takeaway from that little message? What are the buzzwords she threw in there, the report to get in there? Epstein files, so that's hanging there. And she said, Trump upset at her not getting rid of his political enemies. Epstein, political enemies. So the low wattage legacy mainstream news watcher that is completely bamboozled by fake news. You know what that person's takeaway is after watching that report? Trump got rid of Pam Bondi. She wouldn't go over his political enemies, and he's probably in the Epstein files. That's all the takeaway. That's how they do it. That's how they work the news reports. The two key buzzwords, along with those unnamed sources. It'll never change. It'll just never, ever change because there's still enough people out there, less than usual, people out there, still people out there that listen to the ridiculous fake news. Well, we'll see. Anyway, who's coming in? So we got this. Pam Bondi not completely out of the administration. They're going to shift her over to something else. Who knows what? She's still a very good lawyer. I know people are upset with her. I get that. But still. Todd Blanche, who's been in the office, is the interim attorney general. Doesn't seem like anybody so far is saying that he's going to be the permanent guy. So who is? Top name on the list is Lee Zeldin, who's the guy that was running for governor in New York, and he got screwed over, that guy, but he's good. He's been in charge of the EPA and is doing amazing work there, pushing back on the climate lunatics. But can I just suggest a name? And I'm not the only one to do it. I bet you have too, especially my Florida followers. There's a guy who's going to need a job pretty soon because his time as Florida governor's out. Can I just suggest, as many have, Ron DeSantis? Military background. He was a JAG attorney. He's a constitutionalist. We know what he's done in Florida. And I don't know anything. I have absolutely no idea. But can you imagine if this guy was in that role? First of all, he's got the credentials to handle it. Secondly, he doesn't put up with anything. And he's willing, and I would say so far, unless you can find me another one, the only governor in our entire country who's gone after the rogue, lunatic, Marxist judges now and prosecutors. He's fired in Florida over the past 4 years 2 rogue attorneys general who would not follow the law. He's gotten rid of them and won the court cases to get rid of them. And now he's going after a crooked judge who determined that a hardened criminal should be released back on the streets. And what did he do? I need to get into this, but he killed a little kid. So now DeSantis is going after this judge. This is a little long. It's worth it to listen to it, though. And just play along. I don't think it's going to happen either, but just play along and imagine if this guy was the federal attorney general. This is what he did just the other day, just in Florida.
I appreciate the legislature for passing this, but I will just say to my friends in the Florida House of Representatives, I don't think what you've done is enough. You have the power and you have sufficient numbers in your chamber to impeach this judge, Tiffany Baker. Until you start holding these judges accountable, they are going to continue to find ways to benefit the criminal element.
He's calling on the Florida legislature, and every time he's done that, because they actually do have a majority down here, to impeach this crooked judge who just has, and this isn't the only one, has released criminal after criminal, time after time after time. This latest one got right back out on the streets and killed a little kid, despite everybody telling her not to. That's a complete lunatic, crooked Marxist judge. That's what it is. Until you fix the judiciary, you can't do anything. So here you have a governor in the state of Florida, a big state, calling on the legislature to get rid of one of these, just one of these horrific judges. Will it happen? It probably will, locally here. But he's got the guts to do it. So you've seen what he's done at this level. Florida's a big state. It's 67 counties here. A lot of 13 million people, and he's willing to do that. I don't know if this is the guy to do it. I think the odds are against it. But what if he was the Attorney General for the United States? What if he was? Do you think he's all of a sudden going to become a stooge for the establishment of the deep state? Maybe, because he still needs backing too. Maybe, but he's a good shot to be able to do it. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. But my only sliver of hope that somebody like that, and I think Lee Zeldin would be good too, but if DeSantis was in that role, you got to play a little politics in the game that works up there in the swamp, even with Trump, to play along and think that it actually would happen. This is the one thing that makes me think it would. He's already run for governor. My theory is still that he didn't want to run for governor, but the backers say, Ron, you're running now or we will never support you again. That kind of stuff actually happens. He already ran for governor as a test case, got his name out there nationally. It leads you to believe that he'd run for governor again from the same backers against Vance or Rubio, whoever is running in the next election, the next general election, in just a couple of years. What would keep him from doing that? There's only one thing. Would you agree that the Attorney General is probably the busiest, most intense job of the administration outside of president? I would think it is. You don't have a lot of time to run for president. So if there is a little bit of gamesmanship here, the one thing that makes me believe that he might be the guy to do it, because what better way to take a potential political opponent in your own party off the board than make him busy? Not an opponent. He would just run against the Trump preferred candidate, Vance or Rubio, or somebody else that's coming in later on down the road. So if DeSantis did that, he wouldn't exactly have time to run for president. That's the one sliver of hope. That's my conspiracy theory that makes me think it's still a possibility. But it's probably going to be Lee Zeldin. I don't know, but anybody. But we want to rest. I get it. I'm with you there too. Their frustration and all this stuff. Oh, Trump sold us out. You know, all the doomer, gloomer, grifter, black pillar podcasters are telling you Trump sold us out. We could never vote for Trump again. Okay, well, let's see how they react to this. Let's see. They'll be whining again pretty soon. I never listen to them. All right, like I said, it's Easter weekend. We're going to make this one a short one, but we got to leave you with this. I think the UK is lost. There was one telltale sign, one more, that I was looking for to see if the UK can be saved. I say, what would the king's response be to all this? To all this, the crackdown on social media and the censorship and the just caving and the unmitigated immigration in their country because they're so deathly afraid of Islam. They're so afraid of the Muslims in their country. I honestly said, and I looked for this sign. I said, if the king caves, even as a figurehead, he doesn't really do anything, but even if the king caves to messaging and what he's able to say to his people around a big holiday. I thought maybe it would be like Christmas, but no, it's Easter time. That's a sign that they may be lost for good. I mean, honestly. The king, King Charles, an official release by the royal family yesterday was that he's not going to present his Easter message this year. Well, you know why? They even said why in the statement, as not to offend all of the Muslim citizens in the UK now. Okay. Right. Well, that alone is bad enough, but then you compare this to not too long ago. He had absolutely no problem delivering a Ramadan message. It sounded like this.
Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. Ladies and gentlemen, as Muslims across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth begin preparations to celebrate Eid after fasting for the holy month of Ramadan.
Yeah, I've heard enough. That might be it. I mean, that's he's an absolute weasel. And if I happen to be a UK podcaster, live streamer, I would get a knock on the door by tonight. That's how bad it is right now for actually saying that. Oh, I would. Actually, I would be taken off, way before now. That's how bad the censorship is. They're arresting people and holding them in detention for social media posts, for memes on Facebook and on X. That's how bad it is. They may truly be lost if that weasel can't even have the guts to deliver as a figurehead an Easter message. I I don't care. I mean, I haven't thought they're favored nation status for a long, long time, but I just feel for those people because they're being held captive. They're being completely taken over. They're run by a tyrannical government unless they can push things back a little bit, and they've got a king now that won't even stand up for them as the head of the royal family and the figurehead of that entire nation. They can't even do it. It's sad. It's really, really sad. I don't know how as Americans we can even be friends with a nation like that. And I could actually see, it's a little dark, sorry. I could actually see in my kid's lifetime, 50, 60 years down the road, us having to do something militarily to get the nuclear weapons that the UK has out of their Islamic leadership. Is that so crazy to think? The direction they're heading now in such a short period of time? The king won't even deliver an Easter message. I feel so sorry for you. You're welcome here. You're welcome here, British patriots. Come to the States. We'll get you in. I would escape there. I would have to, as most of our relatives did, a couple 100 years ago. I don't know. It's sad. It really is. But don't let that bum you out. It's Easter weekend. Enjoy it. Enjoy your holiday. I hope you had a great Passover, too. All kind of coincides at the same time. Be safe. Enjoy. And again, I mean it. Not just because I'm a tech space nerd. Follow this Artemis journey as much as you can. I know a lot of you already are, but just amazing. Even if it's just that story of them fixing the toilet in space or dealing with Microsoft issues itself. It's just, these might be the most relatable astronauts we've ever had, and Godspeed to them. Have a great Easter weekend. Be safe. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. On the replay now on X and YouTube and Facebook and the audio podcast as well. And put your notifications on for when we do go live, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Make it a wicked awesome Friday. I'll talk to you later.